welcome. And this time on Disaster Empire Quick Views, I'm excited to have Darlene Fawcett with us this time. And before we get started, just want to remind the audience to like and subscribe. That makes sure that you don't miss any notifications and that you are the first to get the latest Quick Views on the channel. Hey, before we jump in, I want to introduce Darlene, but I want her to give us a bit of her background before we get started and really have our discussion today about mentorship. So, Darlene, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And if you can share with the audience a little bit about your background, that would be fabulous.
Ashley, as always, for having me. If you haven't checked out any of her other series, please check it out. They're really great and nice and short. But I currently, in my role, am the manager of business resilience for Jacobs Solution, which essentially is an international professional services organization that provides engineering, technical, professional, and construction services to the industry. I'm currently part of the Global Security and Resilience team, where a few years ago I had transitioned to my current role, where I'm leading the business resilience program. So for us, that really encompasses our emergency management, crisis management, as well as business continuity. And then prior to Jacobs, I worked at an international oilfield services organization. And that's really where I got my start in global security and have gradually been building my knowledge and expanding my roles to various areas such as governance, regulatory security, physical security, and also crisis management.
Thanks, Darlene. You've got an impressive background already. And so I would like to know, is there anything that you want to share with the audience, any fun fact or any additional information that people might not know about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am first generation born in Canada before I moved here to the U.S. in 2009. And funny enough, my husband arrived a little bit earlier than me, and his whole experience with the U.S. was he encountered Hurricane Ike at the time. He was in a hotel, so so that was his first experience.
All right, thanks for sharing that. Hey, as we're jumping in, I think one of the things that I've really reflected on is the mentor-mentee relationship, and we've been working together for about a year or so now. But I'd love for you to share with this audience what that process was like for you. And you came through the mentorship program in the Business Continuity Institute. Can you describe a little bit how that came about and what that was like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a great year getting to know Ashley. And so I belong to several different industry associations, and many have their own type of mentoring programs as well. So people can definitely get inundated with which program should I use, which one is probably best for me. So what I did was I took a step back and I reflected on myself and wanted to consider what is it that I'm looking for and what is it that I need in a mentorship or a mentor. And so for me, I was just new to the area of business resilience. So for me, I really wanted someone that was experienced and knowledgeable around business continuity, how that could add value back to my organization and complement the skills I already had around emergency and crisis management. And so I wanted someone who was a thought leader that would challenge me in my approach and my thinking, but also give me different, fresh perspectives on how to tackle a challenge that I'm facing. So it can definitely be a daunting task to find a match, because when I decided what I wanted, I went and looked at the Business Continuity Institute's program. And I knew that I wanted somebody that could really help me excel in this area. And so what I did was I checked out a lot of people. I kind of wanted to restrict it to the U.S. just due to time zone, or someone in Canada, somewhere on this side of the world. And then from there, I just kind of methodically went through, checking everybody out, seeing what they're doing in the field. And so I did my own research on who I wanted to do, because with me wanting someone who is a thought leader, I wanted someone that was already, pushing out different ideas and things that the industry as a whole should be thinking of and considering. So for me, that was easy to narrow it down. And then I listened to, different webinars that the speaker or who I was interested in participate in, just to get a general feel of, okay, is this a good fit for me? And from there, I reached out to Ashley through LinkedIn. We connected. And then I said, hey, I don't want to formally request you yet because I wanted to make sure it was a fit for her as well. And so I said, hey, can we just have a brief chat just to get to know each other and see if this is something that we both want to do before we formally go ahead and request it. And so we had a quick chat. I think it went really well. I mean, we're still together. So the initial meeting was really good. And from there, that's when I went into the BCI's mentorship program and formally requested Ashley to be my
Thank you for sharing that. Did you find the process with the BCI fairly easy? It seemed like it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. One of the things I would say is I think definitely doing the initial meeting was helpful because it's almost like a blind date where you're getting to know somebody, but you don't really know much about them if they're not, I was just new coming into the industry, so I didn't have a lot of things out there that Ashley could go and find out about me other than my LinkedIn profile. So it was just good to kind of get to know each other.
And you were very
first.
thorough in your research. I didn't realize till now that you had done so much background checking, but I think it's really great that you were very methodical and thoughtful about who you wanted to work with. So I feel, doubly honored that you wanted to work with me. And, one of the things that I will say over the last year is I feel like, for those who are thinking about being a mentor, this is a two-way street. I feel like we learn a lot from each other, even
Absolutely.
Just in the point of, for me, as a mentor, just going through the process of explaining why I do things or why I think about things the way that I do. So wanted to thank you so much for that. Can you share a little bit about what the relationship or the value has been for you over the last year?
Oh, so the mentorship program has been really great in helping me expand and build my relationship with those in the community and those in the field to really network and get to understand what they're doing in their program. So that really helps as well with benchmarking and understanding where your program is from a maturity standpoint compared to others that may not relatively be in the same field, same industry as your company, but it gives you a good baseline. From there, the ability to expand your network with others in the resilience field, gaining different perspectives and insights on how to approach things. And, it's definitely a learning experience on both ways. As Ashley mentioned, it's a two-way street. I'm learning from her. She's learning from me. So it's definitely
excellent,
helpful.
Could we dive in a little bit more to what, for your career development, as you were speaking to, what really encouraged you to seek out a mentor?
For me, it was as I was coming into this role and not really understanding all of the different elements of business continuity, I really wanted a mentor who could provide me knowledge and experience, but also advice and counsel, and somebody that could expand my foundational knowledge that I got when I attended a certification class and really help me develop that playbook that I could apply to my organization and rolling out the business continuity program, as well as best practices and different standards that are out there in the industry for me to go and take a look at and compare against.
Great. Thank you for that. Tell me a little bit about, in the process, what's been the most rewarding for you over the last year?
So the most rewarding for me, I would say, is definitely building the relationship. I think relationship is a key aspect in this industry as well as in many other different industries and fields. It's really where you can connect with others, practitioners that are in the same field as you, get to know each other personally, but also be able to benchmark with them, ask them for advice or help. I think one thing I would say is that not everybody's career is built through a vacuum. It's all through your different networks and connections that you have. So definitely looking at expanding that is a value add to your career.
Darlene, I love that you really hit on the networking aspect, and I found that to be so valuable to my own career. And, I think it's been great to get to know you as well as a professional and as a person. So I think that's been, fabulous and really has helped strengthen my own insight into, as I talked about earlier, why I do things the way I do or why I look at the field in a certain way. And in a good way, you challenge me to really think through those aspects and through explaining them, maybe in a way that I don't do, in other parts of my day or in my career. But hey, can you share with the audience what you think the value is of the mentorship relationship, or for those out there who might be thinking of becoming a mentor or want to be mentored?
So I think at the core of it, it's really around purpose. And that's kind of what you alluded to on why you do the things that you do. It's really understanding your purpose. And, I would say I've been blessed with lots of formal as well as informal mentors and sponsors. And I think that is the most rewarding aspect from a mentor and mentee perspective, where it is a two-way street, and what you put in to it is really what you get out, and if not more, right? So I think it is definitely something where you have to be mindful with, but also intentional, because you are both sides are giving up a lot of time and a lot of energy investing into each other's success. So I think that you have to be very meaningful and purposeful in how you connect with others and really get to know each other, both professionally, but also personally, so that, they are a friend eventually. And, I would also say, if you are going to be a mentee, one of the things I would recommend is do your research, be professional, like in any meeting that you would have, come prepared in a professional setting. Be open and vulnerable to sharing your challenges, your successes, and your different stories that you have. And know that you should be committing to expanding your own curiosity as well as your capability in the field that you're working in. But to get to that, I think you have to be very clear about your goals and objectives on what is it that you're looking for, and are you open to hearing different perspectives and approaches on how to tackle a different issue.
I love that. And I think in our discussions, we often end our conversations about talking about what we want to talk about next or what we want to focus on next. And I think that's helpful because it gives us both, a little bit of time to, as you said, be thoughtful, be intentional. And from my standpoint, really think about, well, what can I share with Darlene, that I think is going to be most helpful to her, knowing where you're going in your career and having a bit more insight on what's going on for your program at Jacobs. And I think for you, it also helps you to think about, well, how can I maximize my time in the next discussion, really get out of it the most of what I need in order to move my program forward or my career forward as I'm going through that journey. But I really wanted to ask you, do you think that you would be a mentor to someone in the future?
Absolutely. Although I don't have anybody that I'm formally mentoring, I do have certain individuals that do reach out to me for advice and counsel. So definitely, I think informal is also an avenue that others should explore, because sometimes you may be being mentored without even knowing it.
Yeah, I love that. Sometimes you don't need that formal, right, label in order to support each other. And again, I think that goes back to what you were talking about, the value of networking. I've really found that as well. Sometimes it just amazes me, what I learn, from my colleagues out there, just talking to them in regular conversation. I'm like, oh, you're doing that. I want to hear more about how you accomplished that or how that worked for you. So, like you said, those informal conversations, so to speak, can be just as important as a formal relationship like we have as a mentor-mentee. And I'm really excited to hear that I've had value, to your own journey. So, it's great to hear that. I really want to thank you today for being here on the channel and sharing your experience with the audience. You are a new thought leader in the field, so I can't wait to see how your career progresses. Can you share a little bit with the audience how to get in touch with you if they want to network with you?
Absolutely. So I would say LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me. And if you have anything specific, just drop me a message and I'm happy to respond and help as I can.
Excellent. And I'll make sure to put a link to your LinkedIn down below for those who want to get in touch with Darlene. But before we wrap up, can you share, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the audience today before we close?
Definitely. I would say I touched on sponsorship a little bit, and I wanted to just call that out a little bit. So there is a difference between mentor as well as sponsor, right? Mm-hmm. So the difference between the two is a mentor could be informal or formal, but they're really ones who you reach out to for advice and counsel, whereas a sponsor is one that is typically inside your organization, and they're really helping open the door to different opportunities to excel your career in your field or in a different journey down your career path. And I think both are equally important because really that sponsor is going to really increase your visibility to others in the organization that may not have exposure to you. And that's really where going sideways or to a different area in your career really helps excel your career in helping developing some of the other skills that you may be lacking or may be wanting to enhance a little bit more to make you a stronger candidate for your next role. So I think in both, they are really helpful. And I think I would say sponsorship is really where that's kind of the second phase of mentoring, right? It could also be a mentor as well as a sponsor, could be the same person, but typically that sponsor is inside. I would say in closing, the last piece of advice that I want to leave the viewers with is definitely go and grow your professional network. And it doesn't take time to really do a formal mentorship relationship, but it's really around building and cultivating that relationship because you never know where your journey is going to take you next.
I think that's such an important point of having that sponsor or that champion, as you will, inside of your organization who's going to help to advance your career. It's such an important concept, and I think one that's not talked about enough. So thank you so much for raising that. And I hate to end our conversation today because I always have such a great time talking with you, but I know we got to go. But thank you so much again for being here. Always good to chat with you, and I'm looking forward to our next session together and talking with you soon. Thanks, Darlene.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.